Dylan and I had planned to go see the first snow in the Northeast together. Right before we were supposed to leave, he suddenly canceled. Anna's mom is sick. She couldn't get a ticket home, so I'm driving her. Anna was his junior from the lab and a scholarship student. This was the third time Head stood me up for Anna, but this time, I didn't cry or make a scene. I just calmly suggested we break up. Over the phone, he coaxed me nonchalantly. My little princess, stop making a fuss. I'm just helping someone in need. Be good and cancel your ticket. I'll take you to see the snow during winter break. But I didn't cancel the ticket. I grabbed my suitcase and got on the plane. He didn't know that this time, I was truly determined to break up. As for the snow, I didn't need him to take me. Someone else was willing to see it with me. Dylan's call came while I was packing for our trip. The weather forecast said it would be a cold winter, with an early snow. In mid-October, Harbin was about to welcome its first snowfall of the year. As a girl who grew up in the South, seeing snow had been a lifelong dream. When Dylan found out, he tapped my head. Then let's go this time. What's that saying? He thought for a moment, then smiled. If we share the white of snow, we can say we've shared a lifetime till our hair is white. So, we immediately booked our flights and hotel. I researched countless travel guides and planned our itinerary for each day, down to where we would eat every meal. To look my best, I bought a red scarf, snow boots, a woolly hat, and fleece-lined gloves, trying on different combinations in front of my dorm room mirror. Even my roommates could feel my excitement, teasing me with a smile. Rhea, I bet you won't be able to sleep tonight. Just as I was about to reply, my phone rang. It was Dylan. I couldn't help but brag to him. I bought matching couples coats, so we can take snowy couple photos. But before I could finish, he cut me off. Rhea, cancel the flight tickets. We're not going to Harbin tomorrow. I froze for a second, asking numbly, why? Anna's mom is sick. She couldn't get a ticket home, and I promised to drive her tomorrow. But I had checked the train schedules from our university to Anna's hometown. There were still plenty of tickets left. You were looking at the high-speed rail. Anna's family isn't well off. To save over 300 yuan, she always takes the hard-seat train. On the other end of the line, he was chewing on a straw, speaking casually. Rhea is always so kind. She wouldn't make a scene over something like this. Right. Besides, I'm doing a good deed. Rhea should be proud of me. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, wearing a bunny-themed woolly hat, and felt a mixture of amusement and absurdity. This was already the third time Dylan had stood me up for Anna. Dylan and I were childhood sweethearts. Our marriage arranged by our families since we were young. For as long as I could remember, he had always celebrated his birthday with me. Every year, he would clasp his hands together and make a wish. I want to be with Rhea forever. We will definitely get married in the future. After the college entrance exams, he changed his university preference at the last minute to stay in the same city as me. We walked hand in hand along the tree-lined paths of our campus. The couple everyone envied. The turning point came in our junior year. A new junior, Anna, joined Dylan's lab. At first, Dylan would complain to me about her. She's incredibly dense. I've shown her so many times, but she just can't remember. I don't know how she even got into university. And her clothes are so frumpy. Always white shirts and black pants, like a country bumpkin. Later, Dylan accidentally learned about Anna's difficult financial situation, that she lived on scholarships. When he talked about her again, his tone was tinged with guilt. She has to work part-time and attend classes. She's spinning like a top all day. It's normal that she can't remember things. I didn't think much of it at the time and even told Dylan that if she was having a hard time, he should help her where he could. But I never expected that the first time Dylan would stand me up, it would be for Anna. It was our anniversary. I had booked a table at a French restaurant well in advance, waiting to have dinner with him. But he never came, and he didn't answer his phone. After the dishes had been served, grown cold, and cleared away, he finally called me back. Anna had a high fever, so I took her to the hospital. I accidentally left my phone at the lab. I'm so sorry, Rhea, for making you wait. But this was an emergency. You wouldn't be mad at me for this, right? I'll take you for French food tomorrow. But we couldn't go tomorrow. The restaurant was incredibly popular. I had to book a week in advance. Still, I didn't lose my temper with him. I just nodded softly. Okay. I told myself that health was the most important thing. We could celebrate our anniversary later. It was understandable for Dylan to take his junior to the hospital. But once it happened again. Dylan and I had plans to go to a concert. He stood me up again. Anna's period had come unexpectedly early, and she begged him to go to a nearby supermarket to buy her brown sugar. Dylan not only bought it, but also made her a warm drink with it. By the time he arrived at the concert venue, it was long past the entry time, and the security guards wouldn't let him in. He explained to me, Anna was so pale from the pain. You always have a hard time with your cramps. And I thought of you when I was helping her. I found it both ridiculous and laughable. I asked him, coughing, couldn't she have just ordered delivery? Why did she have to ask you? Delivery has a fee. She's poor. How could she afford that? I was right there with her. So it was normal for her to ask me, wasn't it? It's not like I could possibly like that country girl. What are you worried about? Rhea. His explanation was cut short that day. Anna called, saying there was a problem with the experiment data, and he rushed back. The concert is a bust. So I'm heading back to the lab. The data Anna collected has issues, and the professor wants it by tomorrow. If I don't help her, she'll be scolded to tears. He turned and left, leaving me alone in front of the stadium. The early autumn evening wind was a bit chilly. I shivered, my jacket still in his bag. I called out to him, wanting to get my jacket, but he was already in his car. He rolled down the window and told me, my little princess, stop making a fuss. I'll come and comfort you after I'm done. As the car sped away, I walked back to my dorm, hugging my arms. My whole body was cold, and my heart felt numb. I fell ill when I got back, with a high fever. Dylan was too busy to pay me any mind. At the same time, I saw him on Anna's social media feed. He was hunched over a laptop, working on something. Anna had captioned it, "The best senior in China." Bought me sanitary pads and brown sugar water, and even helped me process my experiment data. I stared at the words for a long time and suddenly realized something between Dylan and me had changed. He used to worry if I wore one less layer of clothing. But today, I had been coughing and shivering from the cold, and he had been completely oblivious. It wasn't that he had become careless. It was that his attention was elsewhere. I almost masochistically scrolled through Anna's post again and again. My cheeks grew hotter. I was burning up. I wrapped myself tightly in my quilt and buried my face in my pillow. For the first time, the thought of giving up on Dylan crossed my mind. In a daze, I had a dream. I dreamt of a younger Dylan saving me from drowning. He carried me on his back, his body trembling, afraid I would pass out, talking to me nonstop. He said many things, but in the dream, only one sentence remained, repeating over and over, "Rhea, if I ever do something wrong in the future, will you give me 3 chances?" At the time, I promised him. Okay. Now, the 3 chances were used up. It was time to break up. When I told Dylan I wanted to break up, he was silent for 3 seconds. Then, he asked in a low voice, "You want to break up with me just because I didn't take you to see the snow?" I didn't answer, just looked at the navigation route on my phone. From our city to Anna's hometown, it was over 1,500 kilometers. Dylan hated long drives. Whenever we planned a road trip, he wouldn't even consider any destination over 1,000 kilometers away. So, he could make exceptions for others. Can you please not be so unreasonable? Her parents are getting a divorce. She has to go home. We're not in a rush to see the snow. I'll take you during winter break. He sighed, patiently coaxing me. My little princess, be good and cancel the tickets. I knelt on the floor, packing my clothes, and found the situation utterly laughable. You're driving her home to save her 300 yuan. But my flight cancellation fee alone is over 1,000. To my surprise, he laughed. You little money grubber. So, this is about money. That amount is nothing to us. But it's different for Anna. She earns every penny herself. Unlike you, who can just ask for it. And she's stubborn. She won't accept help from others. If she took the high-speed rail this time, she probably wouldn't even eat dinner when she gets back. Though Dylan wasn't in front of me, I could imagine his expression from his tone. A slight frown, lips pressed together, his eyes filled with an unconcealable pity. A sour feeling rose in my heart. I retorted, if she won't accept help from others, why is she willing to let someone drive her home? Dylan used to be a very patient person, but this time, his patience ran out quickly. Rhea, what are you even fussing about? If you're upset about the cancellation fee, I'll pay for it. Why do you have to talk about her behind her back? Dylan had never spoken to me so harshly before. My packing paused. I couldn't hold back the wave of grievance that washed over me. He realized his tone had been too harsh. Rhea. I cut him off. Dylan. Let's break up. You always bring up breaking up whenever there's a problem. Are you that desperate to have fun? Is this trip to the Northeast that important? Stop fooling around. If you say it again, I'll take it seriously. And you'll be the one crying. I took the matching couple's coat out of my suitcase. I'm serious. We're breaking up. He seemed to laugh in anger. Fine. Then, let's break up. After the call ended, my roommates were all looking at me. One of them asked tentatively, Rhea, are you still going on the trip? Of course. Everything was planned. Why not? It's not like I needed him to take me. I bent down and continued packing. But even though I was about to see the snow I had longed for, my heart felt heavy. Just then, I received a video message. It was from Dylan's roommate, Evan. I opened it. In the video, Dylan was playing an online game with his back to the camera. A roommate asked him, Dylan, Rhea is about to break up with you. How are you in the mood to play games? Dylan didn't turn around, answering nonchalantly, she can't break up with me. Rhea is just being jealous and stubborn, throwing a little tantrum. Don't I know her? Give her the cold shoulder for a few days, and she won't be able to stand it. She'll come running back, begging me to get back together. Another roommate asked, aren't you worried she'll go to the Northeast by herself? She won't. Dylan said with certainty. She's timid and has never traveled far alone. How could she go? Besides, she loves taking pictures. Without me, who's going to take them for her? She won't have any fun. Then, Anna's voice came from the computer. He was playing with her. The video ended there. I found it strange and sent Evan a question mark. He replied quickly, Hi Rhea. I'm not one to stir up trouble. I didn't send this with any ill intent. I just wanted to ask, are you still going to the Northeast? I happen to have a ticket for tomorrow as well. I was planning to chase the first snow, and my itinerary is the same as yours. And I'm a photographer. I have a DSLR, an action camera, and a drone. If you don't mind, could we be travel buddies? Of all of Dylan's roommates, Evan was the only one I didn't know well. He came from a wealthy family, supposedly the son of a listed company CEO, and never lived in the dorms. I had met him once at a photography club meeting. At the time, I just thought he was incredibly handsome, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. A perfect physique. Not long after that meeting, Dylan told me Evan had moved back into the dorm, but he was cool and distant and didn't really hang out with the others. He never joined their group gatherings. As I recalled, he had only come to one party. All the other roommates had brought their girlfriends. Only Evan came alone, looking out of place among the couples. It was at that party that we added each other as friends, but we had never spoken a word. Now, looking at the message on my screen, I thought for a moment. I don't really like traveling alone. Having a travel buddy to look out for each other would be nice. And Evan seemed quite reliable. So, I agreed. Okay. The flight was at 10 the next morning. We agreed to meet at the airport. I saw him from a distance. He was holding a black suitcase, wearing casual pants, leaning against a glass door. Perhaps because of his striking looks, he stood out in the crowd. When he saw me, he gave me a polite smile and naturally took my suitcase from my hand. I can carry it myself. I tried to protest. It's no trouble. After checking in, we boarded the plane together. Our seats were next to each other. He cleared his throat and took a neck pillow from his bag. You can use this to sleep later. I was taken aback. I had been very emotional yesterday and hadn't slept well. I woke up with dark circles under my eyes, feeling exhausted. I had posted about it on my private social media account. I need to catch up on sleep on the plane. A pillow would be perfect. This account was for my daily ramblings. Even Dylan didn't know about it. Evan certainly couldn't have known. I figured it must be a coincidence. Have you done any research? Do you want to see my itinerary? I asked him. He nodded and looked it over. This is very well planned. You've covered all the main attractions, but there's one small issue. Look, on the second day, you've scheduled 4 spots in different directions, quite far from each other. We might not make it to all of them. I suggest we group the St. Sophia Cathedral with the Daily Market and Central Street. They're very close to each other, so we can visit them together. I watched, slightly surprised, as he took out a pencil and adjusted the itinerary. When I traveled with Dylan, I was always the one who made the plans. He never knew anything about the destinations, attractions, or food, and he never looked at my itinerary. Sometimes, if my schedule was too packed or if we ended up at a tourist trap, he would tap my head and complain, "Rhea, were you being lazy? Didn't you do your research properly? My feet are killing me. What's so great about this place?" Over time, I had forgotten that traveling was a two-person affair, something to be planned together. But Evan was different. He had clearly done his homework. He quickly revised the schedule with me. The plane was in the air. I was sleepy and soon drifted off. When I woke up, I found my head resting on Evan's shoulder, my hand on his leg. Evan was sitting rigidly, not moving a muscle. I was startled and quickly sat up, apologizing. "It's fine. You were sleeping so soundly. I didn't want to wake you," he replied politely. For the next few days, Evan and I explored Harbin according to our plan. I discovered that he was an excellent travel buddy. Unlike Dylan, he didn't complain that the restaurants I found weren't good enough. He didn't just snap a couple of photos of me and call it a day. Whether it was barbecue or iron pot stew, he praised it all. "Rhea, you're amazing. All the places you found are delicious." When taking pictures, he would find the best light and guide me on how to pose. The photos were fantastic. The only downside was that the first snow, which the weather forecast had promised, never came. Luckily, we had booked a few extra days off, so we still had time to wait. One day, after leaving the Volga Manor, I was scrolling through my phone on the subway. I happened to see Anna's social media feed. I clicked on her profile and saw that Dylan was in every single one of her posts. At first, she called him Senior. "Thank you, Senior, for driving all day to take me home. It must have been tiring. I'm letting Senior have my room, so I have to squeeze in with my mom." Sob. Later, her term of address changed to a certain someone. A certain someone is definitely a city boy. He's never even seen a goose before. Got chased all over the yard. A certain someone, who's used to fine dining, actually said my homemade wooden bucket rice is better. A certain someone insisted on dragging me up the mountain to pick mushrooms. "But brother, there are no mushrooms this season." He said the sea of green in the mountains is more beautiful than the snow in the Northeast. She was practically posting 1,000 times a day. Weren't her parents supposed to be getting a divorce? She seemed quite happy to me. Just as I locked my screen, Evan suddenly held out his phone to me. "Rhea, I'm not one to stir up trouble, but I think there are some things you should know." He showed me his dorm group chat. A roommate asked Dylan, "How's it going?" Dylan, "Pretty good. The countryside is a bit rough, but it has its own charm." Another roommate asked, "Have you contacted Rhea? She might have actually gone to the Northeast. I haven't seen her in class these past 2 days." Dylan replied, "No way, shed dare. There are so many people in the elective classes. It's normal you haven't seen her. I haven't contacted her. She needs to learn a lesson. So she'll stop throwing the word breakup around." Dylan, "You're too confident. Rhea is so beautiful. What if someone takes advantage of your fight to make a move?" Dylan's reply was nonchalant. "You underestimate her feelings for me. But you're right. It's been 3 days. She's probably in her dorm, too sad to sleep. After I'm done here with Anna, I'll give her a call." They were just plain words, but they made me feel sick. I looked up at Evan. "So, what are you trying to say?" "Nothing. I just think Dylan has no sense of boundaries. I'm not trying to add fuel to the fire. I just want to ask. You wouldn't get back together with a man who drives another girl home and stays at her house, would you?" As he said the last sentence, his tone shifted, becoming careful and probing. "No." He said no more, putting his phone away, a faint smile hidden in his eyes. The journey back from the Volga Manor was long. I was exhausted from the past few days and fell asleep on the subway. My phone, in my pocket, nearly fell out, but Evan caught it. As I was drifting in and out of sleep, my phone rang. The subway was crowded. Evan and I were sitting very close, and I could feel his body tense up. After 3 rings, he said to me, "Rhea, it's Dylan. Do you want to answer?" I shook my head. I was so tired. I just wanted to be in bed, not waste my time on Dylan. "Should I answer for you?" he asked suddenly. My mind was foggy with sleep, and I didn't immediately grasp what he was saying. By the time I understood, He had already answered the call. Dylan's lazy voice came through the phone. My little princess. Have you had your tantrum yet? I'm at Anna's house now. I'll be back in 3 days. I bought you some osmanthus jam. I know you don't really want to break up, so I won't hold it against you. Just don't say things like that again. You hear me? His tone was that of a magnanimous superior, as if I were the one in the wrong. I found it both laughable and disgusting. Evan listened patiently before speaking. Are you looking for Rhea? Hearing a man's voice. Dylan was silent for 3 seconds before his voice shot up. Evan, where's Rhea? Why do you have her phone? You mean Rhea? Evan turned to look at me, dozing with my eyes closed, and smiled. She's exhausted today. She's sleeping right next to me. Should I wake her for you? I had been out all day and was indeed tired. And I was indeed dozing on the subway. What he said was factually correct, but it sounded strange. On the other end, Dylan was silent for a moment, then suddenly relaxed. Oh, I almost forgot. It's Wednesday. You and Rhea have the same class. I haven't talked to her in a couple of days. Has she been crying a lot? She must be tired from crying. She gets sleepy when she cries. Let her rest her head on the desk. I'll call her back later. Unexpectedly, Evan was taken aback by his reaction. After a moment, he let out a low laugh. You're really not worried, are you? I wouldn't be if it were someone else. But it's you. Dylan laughed as well. I've seen your arranged marriage partner. She's a tall beauty. Attracts half the guys in the building. With someone like that around, you wouldn't be interested in a childish crybaby like Rhea, would you? Anna's voice came from the background. Senior, who are you talking to? I made some osmanthus cakes. They're still warm. Wanna try one? So, Dylan quickly hung up. I've got something here. Talk to you later. After the call, Evan saw that I was awake and handed me my phone back. Wanna grab a late-night snack before heading back? He asked. I was a bit hungry, but I shook my head. No, thanks. I had always thought Evan was single. Today, I learned he had an arranged marriage partner, and he was traveling alone with me. That didn't seem right. Someone was selling sugar-coated hawthorns at the subway exit. Evan bought a skewer of the green grape flavor for me. It was my favorite, but this time, I didn't take it. On the way back to the hotel, the more I thought about it, the more I felt his actions were inappropriate. I firmly believe that people in relationships should not have travel buddies of the opposite sex. It's an incredibly irresponsible thing to do to a partner. So, I deliberately kept my distance from him. I figured we had 3 days left. It would be better for me to spend the rest of the time on my own. Just as I was trying to figure out how to bring it up, Evan called out to me. Rhea. Yes. He was standing at my door, leaning against the frame, and told me seriously. I had an arranged marriage partner, but neither of us had any feelings for each other. The last time she came to the university to see me was to discuss how to call it off. The engagement has now been successfully canceled, and I've won the right to choose my own partner from my parents. In other words, I am currently single. His slightly long bangs covered his eyebrows. He looked down at me. I'm not saying this for any other reason than to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. I'm not like Dylan, who gets entangled with other women while he has a girlfriend. I'm not that kind of person. He straightened up and handed me the sugar-coated grapes he had been carrying. I don't like the green grape flavor, and it would be a waste to throw it away. Considering I took so many beautiful photos for you today, could you do me a favor and finish it? I looked up at him. Evan was indeed different from Dylan, at least in personality. Dylan was someone who disliked clarifying misunderstandings. He believed misunderstandings arose from a lack of trust. So whenever I misunderstood him, he never explained. He just let me guess, let me overthink, let me be anxious. Today, I discovered that men could actually use their words. I took the sugar-coated fruit from him. Okay, see you tomorrow. After washing up, I was about to go to bed when a message from Dylan came through. Rhea, are you back in the dorm? I'm still awake. Anna's bed is so small. I can't even turn over. But the bedding is clean. Staying in the countryside is quite nice. I'll take you to the countryside next time. I told him. I'm not in the dorm. I'm in the Northeast. You little liar. You were just in class with Evan. You think I don't know. Alright, stop being difficult. I want to hear you being sweet. Send me a voice message. How had I never realized he was so delusional? I still had to see the Tigers tomorrow. I didn't want to waste my time on him, so I blocked him. The next second, his call came through. Ria, have you had enough? I've already given you a way out. How amusing. Lying in another woman's bed, on her pillow, under her quilt, sending me messages. And that was his idea of giving me a way out. I didn't want to waste my breath. I reminded him. Dylan, we've already broken up. Don't bother me. He retorted angrily. Still want to cause trouble. Believe me, I'll really break up with you. Fine. Let's break up. After a moment of silence, his voice was tinged with gritted teeth. Fine. Let's break up. Whoever comes back first is a dog. Don't you come crying to me then. For some peace and quiet. I blocked his number as well. The next day, Evan and I went to the Siberian Tiger Park as planned. The snow I had been waiting for still hadn't fallen. But the tigers were adorable. Like giant golden shaded cats. We sat in a caged vehicle, watching them leap into the air to catch pieces of chicken. We could also feed them directly through small holes with chopsticks. The weather forecast wasn't very accurate. It was supposed to be below freezing, but it was still above. However, the air was humid, and instead of snow, it rained heavily. We took shelter under the eaves. The rain was torrential. By the time it stopped, there were several large puddles, one of which was on our path and looked quite deep. I was wearing white shoes, which would definitely get wet. Just as I was thinking this, Evan suddenly crouched down in front of me. Get on. I was taken aback. Huh. Your shoes will get soaked. I'll carry you across. I hesitated for a moment and looked down at his shoes. He was wearing black leather boots, perfectly suited for the wet conditions. Seeing my hesitation, he coughed and explained. It's normal for travel buddies to help each other out. And we're going to other places next. It won't be comfortable for you to walk around with wet shoes. And there are no shoe stores nearby. So, I lightly wrapped my arms around his neck and let him carry me across the puddle. Evan had long legs and usually walked quickly. But now, perhaps because the ground was slippery, he walked very slowly. Being so close, I noticed his skin was not only fair but also smooth. His eyelashes were long and curled, like tiny slides. Evan probably didn't wear cologne, but he had a fresh, grassy scent, like after a rain. I don't know if it was because I was wearing so many layers, but he seemed a bit warm. A faint blush crept up from behind his ears to his neck. Finally, we were across. He set me down on the steps, then suddenly lowered his head and reached for the top of my head. His scent enveloped me. I could even see my reflection in his pupils. I was startled and was about to step back. But he had already pulled his hand away. A leaf, blown from somewhere, lay quietly in his palm. He had just wanted to brush the leaf from my hair. As if he hadn't noticed my reaction, he asked in a normal tone if I wanted a Matier ice pop. I nodded. Sure. And the little episode was over. The day was fulfilling. But as our departure date approached, there was still no sign of snow. What was even more annoying was that before we left, the forecast had predicted snow. Now that I was here, it was either rain or clouds. It seemed the snow was not going to happen. I sighed and opened my private account to write my daily thoughts. I really want to see snow. Can it please snow before I go back? I'm not asking for much. Just dandruff-sized flakes. After I posted, an account left a comment. Your wish will come true. The ID was familiar. We had been following each other for a long time, but we had never messaged privately. Just commented on each other's posts. A word of comfort when sad. A congratulations when happy. Encouragement in the face of difficulties. Just like any other kind. Ordinary netizen. I replied, I hope so. The next day, I woke up before dawn. I nervously pulled back the curtains, but my hopes were dashed again. It was an overcast day. I sighed, all sleepiness gone, and scrolled through my social media feed. I came across Anna's latest post. A certain someone said he loves the mountains and was glad he drove me home. Otherwise, he would have gone to the Northeast and not seen a single snowflake. A waste of time and money. Just then, there was a knock on my door. Evan was standing there, smiling, urging me to get up. I looked at him, confused. So early. This wasn't in the plan. But he said, yes, I'm taking you to see the snow. Remember to dress warm. Evan took me straight to the high-speed rail station. We bought tickets to Hengdehese on the spot. The scenery outside the window changed, from withered landscapes to smoking northeastern villages. An hour and a half later, we arrived at Hengdehese Station. It had snowed all night here. Now, fine snowflakes were still drifting down, landing on my hair and shoulders. My chest fluttered, and a sudden joy bubbled up inside me. Evan hailed a bus to the town. The small town was surrounded by mountains. As far as the eye could see were stern, clear, yet soft, snow-covered mountain faces. As we got closer, we could see yellow, Russian-style wooden houses, a mottled train platform, and tall birch trees. The snow on the rooftops glistened, and smoke curled up from the chimneys, weaving with the morning light into a warm tapestry. I didn't even bother with an umbrella, excitedly diving into the snow. It was so cold, a cold I had never felt before. My eyelashes frosted over. The crunch of my boots on the snow drowned out my footsteps. But everything about this snowy world was new and fascinating. A steam locomotive from the snowy forest roared past. A small lamb in a farmer's backyard galloped alongside me. Evan followed behind me, a smile in his eyes. Every time we took pictures before, he would guide me on how to pose. But today, he just quietly took candid shots. For lunch, we found a random restaurant in town and had a hearty meal of sweet and sour pork and stir-fried vegetables. After lunch, the snow grew heavier. My cheeks were red from the cold. Evan pulled my scarf up to cover half my face. The winter in Hengdehese fulfilled all my fantasies of the north. My impression of snow was finally vivid and real. Before we left the town, Evan seemed to be thinking about something. Looking around, it was still the off-season for tourism, so there weren't many people. An old man was out for a walk. After a moment's thought, Evan suddenly asked me, "Ria, can I take a photo with you? Just as a memento." It's normal to take a photo together when you're traveling. I nodded. His eyes sparkled. He walked over to the old man and asked him to be our photographer. The old man was quite the director. "Closer. Why are you standing so far apart? Warm up to each other. Did you just meet?" "Yes. That's the pose. Hold it." After all that directing, it turned out he didn't know how to press the shutter button. We didn't get the pose shot, but he did capture the moment we were looking at each other awkwardly. The snow fell heavily, landing on our hair, making it look as if it had turned white. Both our cheeks were flushed, red from the cold. As I boarded the flight back home, I felt the trip was a complete success. But Evan seemed a bit melancholic. The end of a trip can often bring a sense of loss, just as he had when we arrived. He naturally took my luggage and walked me to my dorm. Before I went upstairs, he cleared his throat and suddenly asked me, "Ria, as a travel buddy, how was I?" "You were great." He then asked tentatively, "Next time you want to travel, can you ask me? I'd like to get out more too." I nodded politely. Back in my dorm, I shared the red sausages I had brought back with my roommates. One of them, who had gone to the cafeteria late, burst in and said, "Ria, you have no idea how annoying the cafeteria was just now." I saw Dylan eating with his junior, Anna, laughing and talking. "Since you've broken up." I didn't bother saying hi and was just going to walk past, but he actually called out to me. He asked if you've been crying in the dorm these past few days. I asked her, munching on a sausage. "What did you say?" "I said you weren't crying, that you went to the Northeast and had a great time." But he insisted I was lying to cover for you and said that if you knew you were wrong, you should go find him, that he wouldn't really break up with you. Perhaps being together for so long had given him the illusion that I couldn't live without him. I looked at his contact in my blocked list, with no intention of unblocking him. This was the longest we had gone without contact in all the years we had known each other. But we did meet again. At my house, my dad and Dylan's dad were business partners. Our mothers were best friends. The two families often had dinner together. That day, my mom said she had an important announcement and insisted I come home for dinner. The moment I opened the door, I saw Dylan. There were 6 seats. 5 were already taken, leaving only the empty one next to him. I had no choice but to sit down. Dylan looked at me and leaned in to whisper, "Ria, it's been a week. Your face looks a little rounder. Is it swollen from crying?" It wasn't swollen. It was from all the delicious food in the Northeast. I ignored him, but he continued cheerfully, "My little princess, it's been long enough. Are you still mad? I bought you that bag you said you liked. I'll give it to you later. And didn't you want to see snow? I found the perfect place for you. Anna's hometown is at a high altitude, so it snows in the winter. And you don't even have to fly. You can go with me when I take her home for winter break. I looked up at him and said calmly, no need. I don't want to get too involved with my ex. Before I could finish, the conversation at the table shifted to us. Speaking of which, the two of them are graduating soon. Isn't it time to consider marriage? Dylan's mom said with a smile. They've always had a good relationship. And I've always considered Ria my daughter-in-law. Why don't we pick a good day and have the engagement party? I finally realized what my mom's big news was. Ria, what do you think? How do you want the engagement party to be? Dylan's mom looked at me. Dylan's dad nodded. Yes, we should listen to the girls' opinion on this. Suddenly, all eyes were on me. My parents looked at me expectantly. Dylan leaned in and whispered, Ria, you can throw a tantrum with me in private, but don't bring it up in front of our parents. They'll worry, and it will be hard to clean up the mess. It wasn't the first time Head said that. So, in the past, whenever I was hurt by him, I would just swallow it and cry into my pillow. But things were different now. I had to let our parents know. I spoke softly. Dylan and I have already broken up. The engagement should be called off. It was like dropping a bomb. The person who reacted most strongly was not our parents, but Dylan. He frowned at me, his anger flaring up. Ria, have you had enough? An engagement is a serious matter. You can't just call it off because you're unhappy. Do you think this is a game? My parents also disapproved. Ria, you shouldn't be so willful. If there's a misunderstanding, you can sit down and talk it out. Dylan's mom told him to be quiet, then asked me gently, Ria, did Dylan bully you? You tell me, and I'll teach him a lesson. I guarantee he'll be obedient from now on. I've watched you grow up. We've all seen your relationship with Dylan over the years. You can't act on impulse. Amidst all the opposition, I smiled. I'm not being impulsive. I've thought this through. I hadn't planned to talk about the breakup at the dinner table. I wanted to tell my parents privately, but since it had come to this, I might as well clear the air. Dylan, what did you take time off for last week? Did you tell your parents? It was clear he hadn't. Hearing me bring it up, he looked flustered. So, I told them for him. He drove 1,500 kilometers to take his junior home and stayed at her house for 6 days. Dylan's mom was taken aback. Is that true? You've always taught me to be kind. That junior's family is poor. Her parents are getting a divorce. And she was desperate to go home but couldn't get a train ticket. That's why I took her, Dylan said, trying to seize the moral high ground. Dylan's dad nodded. Helping a classmate is a good thing. Ria, don't overthink it. Dylan is just a helpful person. It's a good quality. I had always thought Dylan's parents were wonderful. They would take me on outings, buy me pretty accessories, and always have a red envelope with a blessing for me during the new year. But in the end, family is family. I knew they would subconsciously side with Dylan. So, I opened Anna's social media feed. I had kept her as a friend for this very moment. Here, this is the junior's feed. You can take a look. The phone was passed around. Dylan's parents' expressions grew darker and darker. It was clear they also understood the overly intimate implications of the posts. Only Dylan looked confused. He looked at Anna's feed on my phone, then took out his own to compare. After a moment, he cursed under his breath. I've never seen these. She blocked me. Ria, I didn't know she posted these. A lot of what she wrote, I never said. She made it up. I only ever saw her as a regular junior. If I had known she felt this way about me, I would have stayed away from her. He absolved himself of all blame in a few sentences. Dylan's mom then tried to persuade me. Ria, since the misunderstanding is cleared up, don't talk about breaking up. It's not easy to find a partner these days, especially one from a good family. Look at Dylan. His looks, his physique. Is there anyone at your university better than him? Actually, there was. Evan, the universally acknowledged campus heartthrob. If you were to rank them, Dylan would be second to him. As if guessing my thoughts, Dylan cut me off. Evan is handsome, but it's impossible with you. He's into someone else recently. I heard he turned down his arranged marriage and even changed his phone wallpaper to a photo of a girl's back in the snow. I was taken aback. A girl's back in the snow. Was it a stock photo or a real photo? Dylan's mom was still asking me, Ria, are you mad because your trip to see the snow was canceled? I'll pay for you two to go during winter break. She's already been. My mom, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up, showing them the photos I had sent her. Rhea went to the Northeast last week. I thought you went with Dylan, she said, looking at me with confusion. But if Dylan was with his junior, who did you go with? Dylan stared at the photos of me and hanged a heezy, then asked in disbelief. You didn't cancel your ticket. I canceled yours, not mine. No wonder my roommate said he didn't see you in class. Then why would Evan say you were in class together? Halfway through his sentence, he finally understood. The person who went to the Northeast with you was Evan. I nodded. I was exhausted that day and fell asleep on the subway. He answered the phone. I never hid anything from you. His expression shifted from shock to anger. You went on a trip with another guy. So, he knew it was inappropriate to travel alone with someone of the opposite sex. And yet he had slept in another woman's bed. What's wrong with that? I had already broken up with you before we left. A single girl traveling with a single guy isn't against any moral code, is it? The dinner was unpleasant. Because of the breakup, all our parents' plans were ruined. Dylan, who had been so calm and composed, finally panicked. Are you really willing to leave me? When we were dating, the thought of breaking up always seemed terrifying. Every time we were out of touch, I would be so upset I couldn't sleep, desperately waiting for his message. Now that it had actually happened, I suddenly felt that no one was indispensable in anyone's life. When it was time to let go, you let go, and life goes on. I looked at him and said softly, yes. Usually, after a family dinner, Dylan would walk me back to the university. This time, I walked back alone. As I walked, I wrote in my private account, so busy arguing. I didn't even eat properly. What a waste of good food. I've decided, next time, I'm eating first, arguing later, craving dessert. Want jasmine milk foam and durian milk crepe cake. I walked slowly, letting the lake breeze calm my thoughts. After seeing Anna's social media, my parents were very disappointed in Dylan. My engagement to him was officially off. A relationship of over a decade had finally come to an end. My emotions were in turmoil. I wrapped my coat tighter and let the wind blow for a long time before slowly heading back to my dorm. At the bottom of the dorm building, I saw a tall, slender figure. His bangs were tousled by the wind. He stood under a cotton tree, looking up expectantly, as if waiting for someone. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. He walked towards me, holding a cake box and 4 cups of milk tea. It was Evan. The cake was durian milk grape. The milk teas were a variety: coconut matcha, grape delight, osmanthus rice wine, and jasmine milk foam. Evan explained. I was suddenly craving cake today, but I bought the wrong flavor. I got durian milk grape. I don't like durian. I remembered you said during our trip that you loved this flavor, so I brought it for you. I pointed to the 4 cups of milk tea in his other hand. Did you buy the wrong flavor of milk tea too? No. The evening streetlight stretched his shadow long. He pressed his lips together. I had a prepaid card at the campus milk tea shop that was about to expire today, so I bought a bunch of drinks. His story was full of holes, but I didn't want to point it out. I just thanked him. Thank you. How much do I owe you? He was taken aback and shook his head. No need. It would be a waste to throw them away if you don't take them. I should be thanking you for helping me get rid of them. Afraid I wouldn't accept. He pushed the items into my arms and left. There were exactly 4 cups of milk tea, 1 for each of my roommates, and among them was the jasmine milk foam I had been craving. I stared at his retreating back, lost in thought. I suddenly realized this private account of mine was like a wishing well. Previously, I had wished to get concert tickets, although I didn't win the lottery. A classmate sold me his 2 tickets at face value. Before that, I had entered a Polaroid camera giveaway, wishing to win. I wasn't on the winner's list, but the organizers gave me a camera anyway, saying they had added a special prize and I was the lucky winner. It was too much luck, so much that it felt abnormal. After that day, Dylan repeatedly sent me friend requests. I never accepted. He started waiting for me outside my dorm. I looked at him, feeling weary. Have you ever heard the saying, a good ex should be like their dad? He just shook his head. Rhea, all these years, how can you just let go? People are strange. They don't cherish what they have, but regret it once it's gone. He also told me, don't trust Evan. Rich kids like him are just looking for some fun. I told him bluntly, Evan is not the reason we broke up, and am not with him. He started showing up so often that he even drew Anna's attention. I had met Anna once before, when I accompanied Dylan to a lab party. At the time, she was a timid girl in plain clothes who spoke softly and seemed easy to bully. The other guys in the lab kept trying to get her to drink. I couldn't stand it and quietly nudged Dylan. He got the hint and blocked all the drinks for her. The small girl in the corner looked up, her eyes shining. The Anna this time was very different. She was wearing makeup and a long white dress. She pulled Dylan, telling him to go to the lab. Senior, my program isn't running. In the past, Dylan would always agree, but this time, he just brushed her off. If it's not running, find the professor. Why are you looking for me? Anna came 3 times and was turned away 3 times. The 3rd time, she lost her temper. Dylan, don't you like me? You've already broken up with Rhea. Why are you still chasing after her? Why can't you be with me? Dylan seemed to laugh in anger. When did I ever like you? If you don't like me, why did you block the drinks for me at the party? That was because Rhea told me to. Anna was stunned for a moment, then asked, when I was carrying heavy things upstairs. Everyone else ignored me. If you didn't like me, why did you help me? And, if you didn't like me, why did you leave a bottle of milk on my desk every few days after you found out I was skipping breakfast? You're just with Rhea out of habit. The one you like is me. Dylan. Dylan was speechless, gritting his teeth. That's because Rhea said you were having a hard time and told me to help you when I could. And I never left the milk. She did. Whenever she came to the lab to see me, she would bring an extra bottle for you. Anna seemed to have never expected this answer and stood there, stunned. After a long silence, she looked up at me in disbelief. Her eyes red. That wasn't entirely true. Dylan's initial kindness towards her was indeed because of me. But later, it went off track. And that wasn't my doing. I couldn't say if Dylan had fallen in love with Anna later on, but I knew his heart had wandered. And once it had wandered, the man was no longer worth keeping. I was in a hurry to get to class and didn't want to get further entangled. Today, my private account wishing well worked its magic again. I had ordered a large plate of chicken, but my roommate bailed on me at the last minute. So I posted, hoping someone could help me finish it. 15 minutes later, Evan happened to be passing by and joined me for dinner. During the meal, he was telling me about the snow in Altai. He said Haimu village in Altai was beautiful in winter, with a long ski slope nearby, and that we should try skiing. When we parted, everything was fine. He said he would send me some photos of Haimu in winter, but less than an hour later, he was in trouble. Dylan had picked a fight with him. A video of Dylan and Evan fighting was sent to a group chat. My roommate forwarded it to me. At first, I was a little worried. Dylan had learned Taekwondo as a child and was a black belt. Evan looked like he worked out, but he had a refined air and didn't seem like the fighting type. After watching the video, I was relieved. It was about a 4,060 split. Dylan was the 40. From the video, it didn't look like it was on campus, but in a park nearby. I could vaguely hear Dylan mention my name. Since it involved me and I was nearby, I went to check it out. By the time I arrived, Evan had the upper hand, practically pinning Dylan down. Dylan was cursing. If it weren't for you, why would Rhea have broken up with me? It's all because of you. Evan, who was always so gentle and polite in front of me, was a completely different person. He had his sleeves rolled up, his chin held high, his tone sharp, his face full of rebellious pride. Her breaking up with you has nothing to do with me. You were just too stupid to see through a green tea. It's easy for you to say. You think you could tell. Dylan gritted his teeth. Evan just nodded faintly. I could, because I can be one, too. Then they started fighting even more fiercely. But as I got closer, Evan, who had been in the heat of battle, suddenly stopped. Dylan's punch landed heavily on his shoulder. He clutched his shoulder and didn't fight back, just stood there, his face pale. He had a scrape on his forehead, and blood trickled down his cheek. Looking serious, Dylan hadn't noticed me yet and yelled, "What?" Not fighting anymore. Scared. After saying this, he finally saw me and stopped. I walked over to Evan and asked if he was okay. He swayed, looking very uncomfortable, but he still smiled at me and shook his head with effort. Rhea, I'm fine. Dylan just randomly came and attacked me. I don't even know what happened. He seems emotionally unstable. You should go. Stay away from him. Dylan, who had calmed down, flared up again. What? Are you putting on a show now? You damn green tea. You're disgusting. Just as they were about to start fighting again. Thankfully, our counselor arrived and took them both to the hospital. Evan looked more seriously injured, but they were all superficial wounds that would heal quickly. Dylan wasn't so lucky. Evan had hit him hard, and all in places that couldn't be seen. He had several internal injuries, and it was Dylan who had started the fight. He had to take the punishment and stay in the hospital. I didn't leave the hospital right away. I pulled up a chair and sat next to Dylan. Can we talk? He was in pain, but he forced himself to look at me. Do you remember when I fell into the water as a child? And after you saved me, you asked me to give you 3 chances if you ever did something wrong. Dylan looked dazed for a moment, then nodded. I think so. So he had forgotten. I gave you 3 chances. The first time, on our anniversary, you stood me up for Anna. I watched the food get cold, and my heart sank with it. The second time, on the day of the concert, you bought her sanitary pads and brown sugar water and helped her with her experiment data. I had a high fever, so high that my roommate had to take me to the hospital for an 4 drip. And you thought I was throwing a tantrum and ignored me for 3 days. At that time, looking at the needle in my hand, I told myself I would give you one last chance. If something like that happened again, we would be done. Because I had stayed. His face was initially filled with hopeful joy. As I spoke, that joy shattered, replaced by helplessness and regret. I really did love you once. The kind of love that made me want to marry you. But now, I don't anymore. I'm telling you this just so you know that our breakup has nothing to do with Evan. Don't go looking for trouble with innocent people. With that said, I turned to leave. I could faintly hear Dylan's choked sobs from inside the room, like the wind blowing through a cold window, knocking over a vase. I met Evan, who hadn't left, at the door. Seeing me come out so quickly, he was relieved and limped towards me. Rhea, could you please help me back to my dorm? I twisted my ankle. It's a bit difficult to walk. I remembered his ankle should have been fine. Just as I was about to ask, our counselor enthusiastically came over and took on the responsibility of taking Evan home. So I went back to my dorm alone. I opened my private account and, looking at the familiar friend in my follow list, I opened a private chat for the first time. Are you asleep? Clearly, he wasn't. He replied instantly. Not yet. What's up? His tone was like that of an old friend. Come to think of it, we had known each other for 4 years. I remember the first time we talked. You posted that you felt like your future was predetermined and life had no meaning. When I saw it, I misunderstood and thought you were suicidal. I left good morning comments for you for a month straight, asking how you were. The other person was probably confused as to why I was suddenly bringing up the past. But he played along. That's right. You also encouraged me to find a hobby, like photography. On your recommendation, I started learning photography and gradually fell in love with it. I'm really grateful to you. I stared at the sentence for half a minute. I typed and deleted several messages before finally sending. You like me? He replied quickly. Yes. So, I sent another message. Evan, you like me? Though he was still online. He didn't reply this time. I waited for 3 minutes, and he still hadn't replied. Sure enough, people can be bold behind a screen name, but become timid once their identity is revealed. After a long while, he slowly sent a question mark. How did you know it was me? Because you're very obvious. I felt some things needed to be said clearly. I'm grateful for your feelings for me, but I just got out of a relationship. I think jumping into a new one right after a breakup is irresponsible to myself and to the other person. I also need a cooling off period to adjust and make sure I'm not starting a new relationship just to fill a void. A moment later, Evan sent me a voice message. His voice was beautiful, clear and light, reminding me of the falling snow in Hangdaheze. I understand. And I know I should give you time. It's just that, Rhea, you're too wonderful. I've waited so long for you to be single. I was afraid if I was a step too late, someone else would sweep you off your feet. I'm not in a hurry. You can take your cooling off period to adjust. I'll wait. I can wait. And, Rhea, I really do like you. After hanging up, I had a good night's sleep. Evan and I became friends who saw each other occasionally, talking about travel and photography, the snow in the Northeast and the deserts of the Northwest. As for Dylan, after we cleared the air that day, he didn't come looking for me again. Our parents' relationship wasn't greatly affected. When we met at banquets, We would nod calmly at each other. But Dylan's condition wasn't good. He had lost a lot of weight, his cheeks visibly sunken. Dylan's mom tried to get us back together a few times, but I always refused. She tried to get my parents to persuade me, but they didn't agree either. Let Rhea make her own decisions. Life was peaceful. I was looking forward to my winter break trip, but before the break, I suddenly received a letter of apology. There was no name signed, but from the content, I could guess it was from Anna. I thought I liked Dylan, so I tried everything to create a rift between you two. Later, I realized that the kindness I coveted was given to me by the person I hurt. So, I'm sorry. I think that if two people are truly in love, they can't be torn apart by someone else. So in the end, the problem was with my relationship with Dylan. Later, winter break arrived as scheduled. Evan and I became travel buddies again. We didn't go to Altai. We went back to the Northeast. This time, we went to Changbai Mountain. The snow fell like scattered salt, heavy and full of a raw, almost brutal life. At the freezing point where our eyelashes frosted over, we climbed the 1442 steps and finally saw the white expanse of the heavenly lake of Changbai Mountain. Evan took out the champagne glasses he had brought all the way and, after pouring the champagne, clinked his glass with mine. I smiled at him and held out my phone. Look at my new wallpaper. Isn't it nice? He unlocked the screen and froze. The new wallpaper was our photo from Hang Dahizi. Two people with flushed cheeks, smiling foolishly at the camera. Evan, do you like me? He said. I do. I don't know who it was, but someone who had climbed up to the heavenly lake was playing a song. Loving in the Snow. They say a vow crystallized below zero will never break. The lyrics were fitting. I tilted my head and looked at him. Then don't just be my travel buddy. Do you want to try dating me? The snowy plain was dyed a soft pink orange. Evan reached out his hand to me. In a daze, I thought I heard someone beside me say, to stay together, until our hair turns white, with the mountains as our witness.